Representative Piper. All right, so that is our assembled team for this meeting. And I will go ahead and share my screen and we will move forward with the agenda. So I will share screen number, looks like it's 3 tonight, and I'll share that. All right, so for tonight's agenda, we'll first start off with fire and we will go over metrics led by Chief Alvarez. Chief Alvarez, I yield the floor to you to talk about the January monthly as well as OT for.
Okay. Well, good evening, all. Hope everybody had a great day, even though it was kind of dreary out. Nice little snow, though. So first off, if I may, I just wanted to add that the scanner feed or the radio feed is up and running. I do apologize. There were some issues. Once we got the computers that we had into the server, it didn't work right. Then some emails that were sent from Radio Reference or Broadcastify were sent and it went right to spam. So there were emails that were not actually seen by us. So once we were able to get that information, we got it up and running. I want to thank BA Jimes for helping me get that other computer that was a necessary thing that we needed to get the system up and running. Again, I don't want to say I apologize, but I apologize. There was, we gave a time frame and then there was issues that came that we had no control over. So I want to thank BA Jimes for jumping on that and getting that squared away with me yesterday. And we're up and running and we're squared. So the police and fire radio reference scanner feed is up and running, and I'm sure Chief Duvall will talk about and Bailey will talk about adding that link to their sites. That's their thing. But I just wanted to let it seem so people in town knew that this was not a police or a township thing. This was a technical issue that we ran into trying to get it up and running. So I do apologize about that. That falls on my shoulders, nobody else's. So if anybody out there wants to throw stuff at the PD or a town hall, throw it at me. I'm okay. So with that being said, as we can see, the overtime monies has again dropped. With the members due to members coming back and other things that go on, you can see that between January and February it went down pretty good number. So that's good. So the overtime is down. Our alarms for the month, we ran over over 300 alarms. Out of those alarms, the automatic aid is working very well. We received automatic aid once in a month, 2 months ahead of time. And then we gave automatic aid, once. So again, it worked out well for both of us. And they were fires. They were structural fires. So the extra hand worked out very well. EMS, we've had some crazy calls. We have out of that 300 runs, almost 300 runs, 135 were also medical. And again, they were handled with some mutual aid. And out of that mutual aid, South Orange First Aid Squad did handle a good number of those. So a thank you goes out to South Orange First Aid for assisting us with those calls. Other than that, our numbers, you can see our numbers did go down. Mr. McGee, for the month, you can see that the overtime number did go down, and our budgets are in. Other than that, we're pushing forward, and everything's going well. So I don't know if anybody has any questions for me, or if you want to go to the next line that you have. But right now, our runs are pretty, they're staying standard with the, almost, 3 and change for calls for service. And then bringing the overtime down, getting morale up and doing things of that nature. It's working. So.
Thank you, Chief. Ms. Cripe, any questions for Chief regarding overtime or January numbers?
No, I appreciate the information coming early. I was able to read through it beforehand, so I'm good.
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I do apologize. I did send it out. I was working on it. We've been a little busy. There's been a lot of county chiefs meetings and things and UASI type meetings, which is basically Hudson, Bergen, Essex, Union, Morris, and Middlesex. So we've been trying to get a lot of things together. Obviously, because of the conflict that's going on overseas, we have to be ready. So for anything that might spike up over here, so I've been at a lot of meetings. So today I was working on that to finish it up. And then I sent it out, and then I had to give Bailey a call because it went out, but then it only went to certain people. For some reason, the server by us didn't send it out to everybody in a timely fashion. So I do apologize that it got to you guys late.
Thank you, Chief. I just wanted to recognize what you said. I'm sharing my screen here, one of my screens. No, you're right. The numbers here, I highlighted them in terms of hours. It's the lowest it's been
In a while.
Since July of last
Yeah.
year. So that's a good sign. Obviously, an uptick with some of the events that have occurred. But this is a good sign here that we're starting to correct, the incremental or the higher inflection point of hours, as well as costs associated with the OT. So we're moving in the right direction. In this case, moving down. So appreciate that very much.
You're welcome.
And then also, I think it's good to say with the 298 calls that you had, responses that you said 135 for EMS. That's about 37% or something like that, give or take. Don't quote me. There may be 47% actually, top of my head. So again, a lot of value in EMS and just showing how critical that is for our community. So
yeah. And I'd like to, and if I may, I'd like to just point out that we've had some pretty tragic calls, and I do have to thank Chief Duvall, his members. Again, that open line of communication. The guys are working very well, and I just wanted to say thank you to him, because my guys told me, they're like, as soon as they got there, PD was there. They worked hand in hand, and we had some good outcomes, and unfortunately, there's some not so good outcomes. But Chief Duvall, thank you very much, and thank your personnel for doing the right thing always. So thank you.
Thank you too, and we both know that it has been very busy, way busier than we can report here.
Yep.
That's the truth. It's been a very busy month. All right, moving on in the agenda. Thank you, Chief, for that report. I will give a consolidation update. The steering committee, inclusive of elected officials, our attorneys and administrators, met last week, and we're really in the final stages of ironing out our fire service regional service agency agreement. It's at the point now where it's been vetted by our attorneys. They provided us with the draft. We as a township of Maplewood will be discussing the draft as a discussion item at Tuesday's meeting on the 15th. So all my colleagues will receive a copy of that draft right after a Thursday afternoon meeting, which will be held with the core four on the subcommittee from Maplewood. That's myself, Mr. DeLuca, Mr. Jimes, and Mr. Desiderio. So we'll have that meeting just to make sure that we're 100% on board with the final edits that happen amongst both attorneys. Then we'll disseminate that accordingly to our colleagues, and then subsequently have a discussion about it on Tuesday the 15th. And then from there, on April 5th, excuse me, Tuesday, April 5th, that's when we'll see the resolution come to a vote to move forward with the agreement. And the agreement covers multiple things, obviously the definition of terms, what service looks like with the agreement. It also covers, obviously, how we will govern the joint committee. We also will talk about, in this document, it talks about obviously capital costs, it talks about insurance, it talks about operating expenses, OE, because this is will be a standalone entity separate from the municipalities. So the agreement goes through all of those key points, owner of assets, and we'll have, I'm sure, a wholesome conversation on Tuesday. But we are less than a month away to getting this agreement done, and then other parts of the process will fall in line with our end goal still being July 1st of this year. So that's my report, consolidation update. Any questions, concerns from Chief or from Ms. Craig?
No, sir. We look forward to working with you once you guys get through, the red tape that you guys have to go through. My department, my members, they're looking forward to working with you guys and giving you the input that we need to either say yes, that this is going to be great. And again, I think it's going to be fine as long as we're all together. And I think we're all together, which is a good thing. The only thing I had to ask you, and it doesn't have to do with this, I'm sorry about that. Deputy Chief DeMartini just wants to know if you need him to jump on, or do you want to talk about it at next month about the medical billing stuff that you and him were talking about earlier. You want to we'll push that.
Yeah, let's table it to next month. We have been discussing EMS, and we're continuing obviously with our EMS component of our services, and so that will happen in the final agreement as well. But we do need to revisit that next month and talk about opportunities where we can align the appropriate cost that the insurance will pick up in terms of some of our current baseline costs. So yes,
okay.
Good topic for next month.
Good. I just texted him, told him he doesn't need to sign in, so we're good.
Awesome. Thank you, Chief. All right. So we are now at the public comment for fire matters only. Ms. Barnett, do we have anyone who's raised their hand regarding fire issues?
Yes, we have Carl Patterson. You'll be converted to a panelist and be allowed 3 minutes to speak.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Patterson. Oh, you're on. I think you're on mute. I'm guessing. Double check.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. 100%.
Good evening, guys. How are you?
Good.
Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Okay. I was just want to I don't know if you guys are familiar with the all of the issues that are happening at Wawa when I'm going to the gas station. There's a lot of issues over there. People are just getting into arguments. A guy jumped out of his car yesterday and he challenged me because I had the right of way, but that's not the first time I've seen issues at this location. And something's going to happen. And I don't know if there's, I'm just saying, if there was a difference between this Wawa being on the other side of Maplewood, would there be a response in terms of letting the management know that they need to put either armed security there? They shouldn't just have a regular security. They should hire maybe with police officers to be there. And you need some eyes and ears there, somebody who could be more of a deterrent, because something's going to seriously happen there.
First and foremost, thank you, Mr. Patterson, for bringing this up at public safety. I think this is probably more a question for Chief Duvall than Chief Alvarez. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pivot, and Chief, you don't mind, kind of a little bit unorthodox, but still, maybe addressing the question.
Sure, Mr. McGehee, this is something that's come up recently that the Township Committee, as well as the Public Safety Committee, has been looking into, as well as Township Council and the Business Administrator. What Mr. Patterson says is right. We're getting a lot of complaints at the Wawa, and the police are spending an awful lot of time there, more time than they should be for your ordinary business. So, Mr. Patterson, I can tell you that is it's hot on the agenda, and the township as well as the police department, are going to be reaching out to Wawa and see what we could do on our end as well. So I appreciate you sharing that information.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Because, well, you know, just a matter of time, something's going to happen, unfortunately.
No, I think it's duly noted. I know that, I mean, I haven't dealt with Wawa myself personally in a couple of years. It was like the beginning of 2020 where I reached out and contacted as a district manager at the time, and we arranged for that fence to be put in the back. But that was my last interaction with Wawa, me personally, but I'm happy to dig into my contacts, find that person and see if they're still the person, and whatever we need, I can assist with that. I don't know who's been in touch with Wawa lately, but I do have a contact from my time in the chair. So, Mr. Pazin, thank you. Duly noted, and we will proactively work with the Wawa too. We had this issue with them before where there was a lot of activity late at night in the back of the Wawa. So just through conversations and collaboration, we were able to put a fence back there. And they were using a gate rather, not fence, gate. And they were using it, shutting that part down, but obviously we'll need to revisit some things there. So definitely I'll work with the chief and also my colleagues to get it done.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Ms. Barnett, does anyone else like to address the Public Safety Committee at this time?
I see no hands.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Barnett. Seeing no one, we will adjourn the fire portion of our meeting for this evening. Chief, you're welcome to stay, but I don't think there are going to be any scanner questions tonight, so you're also free to resume the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much, sir. And Patrolman Lewin, you have a great night.
Thanks, Chief.
Yeah. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Good night.
All right, good night.
See you, Chief. Yeah.
All right. Also,
Go ahead, sorry.
Mr. McGehee, I would also like to say that I invited Officer Lewin and Sergeant Reeves to this meeting. I know that they're on the agenda, so I'll save that to right before public comment, if that's okay.
100%. I was very pleasantly surprised to see Officer Lewin call me off guard when I was looking at my Hollywood cameras. So always welcome. So good to have you as always, Officer Lewin. All right, let's go ahead and move forward. But first, we're going to hear from our community board, a police representative on their report. So I'm going to yield the floor to Ms. Davenport.
I'm going to be perfectly honest with you and say that I was not fully prepared to make a report on what we've been doing, but I can just kind of pull up my most recent notes. If you'll give me one moment. I do apologize.
Take your time, Ms. Davenport. No worries at all. And being a liaison to the community board of police, I will state for the public that Ms. Davenport takes outstanding minutes and notes. And so, so she's pulling up a document, proof of concept, statement of truth, whatever acronym you want to use.
Thank you. Okay, so main things that we covered at the last meeting were concerns about that scanner. I'm glad that's gone up, and I'll be very happy to reach out to the rest of the board tonight and let them know that that's gone up. I know that's been a point of contention for a couple of months now within the community and the board. So that's a wonderful thing to have gotten done. Thank you to everyone that worked on that. I know we are currently in conversation with MPD about a training program, and one of our members, Roberto, is currently working on getting you guys those numbers for that training. For anyone that isn't aware about that training, it is to have a better relationship between the youth and some officers. And then also we hired a social worker officially to work in conjunction with our health officer in Maplewood and her team, and then also police and fire. I think those are the major things that we discussed. But Mr. McGehee, if I've forgotten anything that you think was significant, please let me know.
Ms. Davenport, I do not think you've missed anything. I think you provide a very thorough report. And I must say that those meetings, which are also public, are very robust and detailed meetings, and really a good drill down on important topics for the community and by the community. So for those who are interested in attending, it is 7 or 7:30. Keep me honest here, Ms. Davenport.
7:30. And if I can do a brief advertisement, we're going to be presenting at next week's TC meeting for about 15 minutes during the first half on what we've been doing in the past year, which is unusual for us because usually we do it separately as a Saturday thing, but this year we were invited very graciously to present at the TC. So we hope to see a lot of people there.
Thank you, Ms. Davenport. And that's literally a perfect segue. So like the meetings are very robust. And so as Ms. Davenport stole my fire, you will be able to see firsthand the work that the committee does on the 15th, next Tuesday at the Township Committee meeting. And, like Ms. Davenport said, 15 minutes, but it's a lot of information that the committee is going to try to pack into those 15 minutes. So if you don't get enough, please come on out and join us on the first Wednesday at 7:30 each month. So thank you, Ms. Davenport.
Mr. McGehee, I could add to that some members of the Community Board on Police have went to their internal affairs training class with the prosecutor's office as well.
Thank you, Chief. All right. Well, moving on into our next agenda item, which is police metrics. Chief, you want to walk us through the UCR?
Yes. So the monthly report for January 22, our uniform crime report shows that we're up considerably in a couple different areas. We had 3 armed robberies on one single day early on during the month of January. We've spoken about that. I believe we spoke about it at the last Public Safety Committee meeting. I'll report that the investigation is still very active. We have individuals who we are looking at to see if we can tie to these incidents. And I want to thank my detective bureau for working hard on that. We had one aggravated assault that I would like to talk about just for a minute or two. This was the incident at Columbia High School. And I want the community and the members on this board to know that we take all incidents at Columbia High School very serious. In this case, we wound up with criminal charges on 3 individuals related to an assault that happened there. It was very serious. One individual had mace and several other students as well as staff members were sprayed either directly or indirectly. So I know there was a report earlier in the news and maybe on social media that this was handled by the school. I can assure you that this was handled by the police department. With regards to theft from vehicles is picking up. We had a trend that they weren't breaking into cars. When I say breaking into cars, we're actually entering unlocked cars and stealing anything that's inside. So that has risen once again, and the stolen cars has not failed us again. We had 9 stolen cars in January for this monthly report, and all 9 of them were either running or had the keys in them. Again, Mr. McGehee, I sent the committee information from the state police just to indicate, and recently the comments were made by our acting attorney general, just confirming that this is not a Maplewood problem. This is not an Essex County problem. This is a state problem. And they're looking into ways to address that, including a task force that's going to be initiated at the county level. I would like to encourage people to take note of our tips. from Officer Byron Lewin. Please lock your cars. Don't keep the keys in it, and don't keep it running. And that will help you protect yourself as well as your property. Mr. McGee, that's all that I have on the UCR portion of the report. I want to cover basically some training that happened for the month that I'm very proud about. Although you have the report in front of you, in 2021, the Attorney General mandated use of force training to coincide with a new use of force policy. This was supposed to be implemented by mid-April. I can tell you that all of our officers have received the training, and we are in full compliance with the AG directive on use of force. Mr. McGee, that's all I have on the monthly report.
Thank you, Chief. Let me open up the floor to my colleague, Ms. Cripe, to see if she has any questions at this time for you, Chief.
No, thank you. I just appreciate the Chief Duvall's keeping up on information about the various incidents, particularly the armed robberies that have been happening around. You guys are really putting it out there for us. And I know that people are complaining, but I do appreciate a response or something on my phone through Nixley or through one of the local press agencies as often as I pick up my phone, which is a lot. So thank you for communicating that very well with the community.
Thank you very much. As you know, I did a press release this evening. We had an incident this past Saturday late evening, and our detectives work hard and collaborated with Newark Police Department, and we wound up charging the individual earlier today. So, and we're going to continue to see if there's any commonalities between this individual and the other three.
So Chief, just a couple quick points from me. One is, you're right that, the numbers are going up year over year, obviously with the robbery, aggravated assault, although it's just one, but it's still one. One is one too many, and
Yes,
theft and auto theft is what it is. Do we think that maybe also, not that one crime is one crime too many, meaning, but like looking year over year, a year ago this time, we were kind of in the drills of COVID. People were, the vaccine had just come out. People were just still getting vaccinated. So a lot of people were still kind of sheltering in place or just very sparingly outside and so forth. So, I'm wondering, kind of out loud, if we looked at 2020 versus 2022, is this, are these, not that a crime is, one crime is one too many, but is 2022 more indicative of a 2020 and 2019 pre-COVID levels in terms of activity?
Mr. McGee, what you don't usually see, we've had two incidents now. You had the 3 robberies on the one day, and we had the one incident the other day. But the incident the other day was a part of a larger crime spree, which was similar to the one that we had earlier on. So what we're not seeing, which is a good thing, is the random predator walking around trying to target an individual, right? What we've had so far is crime sprees. And a crime spree does not happen often. Crime sprees almost, I'm going to say 80 to 90% of the time. More often than not, when there's a crime spree, the people get caught, right? Most people who want to commit these crimes are not interested in getting caught. It's a serious crime. And when you talk about the numbers, ours being 3 as a part of a crime spree where there was more than 12 or 13 at the same time, right? It really talks more to the prevention of the random act as opposed to the crime spree. The crime spree, as I've said in a prior meeting, is the most difficult to detect and the hardest to stop, because they have the benefit of knowing where we are and we're trying to figure out who they are. So to have 2 crime sprees already, that is unusual. And again, I've never been a person who believes in coincidences, right? So we've solved 1 crime spree, and it would not surprise me if we linked it to the other. Again, I'm not making a promise, but that's certainly, not many crime sprees happen like this. So it would not surprise me at all to find out if these individuals were involved in both.
That makes sense to me. Duly noted. Well, that was my only comment on the UCR, just looking at year over year and thinking about kind of like the state of the community and also the society, and see if there was any correlation between the pandemic and its numbers. But I do appreciate that.
That's absolutely right. The less people on the streets, the 3 that we had earlier with the individuals walking around during the day, we don't usually see crimes of that nature during the day. It's very unusual. You have to go back many years to find that. But the answer to that is this was a group of individuals who decided to go on a crime spree. So that's the answer to that. Generally speaking, all of our incidents, most of our incidents, are in the areas of our 24-hour businesses and where people would more likely find people to target, right? So again, that's something that we have the ability to watch out and help for, but a crime spree is something that is very difficult.
Understood. And so I'm going to shift gears and just talk about the OT really quick. A great story, year to date, year over year. Basically it's all down. I mean, you have that 1 increase in 9/11 dispatch over time, but it's like, in the grand scheme of things, percentage wise, it's a little misleading because it's, slightly under $1,000. And I think it's, again, Power Wednesdays and staffing and the way you're handling the department from an operational perspective should be commended. It's a great story.
Mr. McGehee, that was COVID. And hopefully that'll, we had a big influx. The numbers that you're looking at now were bolstered by Omicron. It hit us really, really bad in the beginning of the year. So I'm hoping that we're getting out of that.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm just sharing the trends and not all the other stuff, obviously. And it's a great story just for the public's edification. Just strong decreases where we really need them in terms of costs. So great job there in terms of, salary costs and OT and so forth. So great job.
Yeah, it's important, as well as our staffing.
Yeah. All right. We're going to move on to you kind of talked about already, but just the auto theft analysis takeaway. You mentioned the document. I did read through it. This IVR documents. I think one of the things that should be mentioned about auto theft in this committee meeting is that there's a shortage of vehicles, automotive vehicles in the country. Where people who are their leases are ending or they're looking to buy a car, and the supply chain management is basically broken due to the pandemic, so it's catching up. And so obviously when you have a strong demand and a low supply, simple economics, there's a delta and discrepancy. And I think when people aren't able to find the supply they need, then you cannibalize on the current supply in a market, and that's what's happening.
And I think we see that all over the place, Mr. McGehee. It took us 13 months to order a police car. So I understand the delays.
Yeah. So I think there is definitely a correlation, in my opinion. There's a correlation between an uptick in auto thefts across the country, across the state, the county, our town, and this demand where it's coming from. And I do think there's never been a time than ever before for people to simply go back to, a traditional process of locking your car, not leave it running, and doing the things that you and the team have communicated. Have also put signage up in key, high volume commercial / residential areas. And we just need to adhere to the direction and the directive that you've provided for the community, you and Sergeant Reeves and Officer Lowen as well.
And Mr. McGehee, you cannot count on the criminal justice system. You have to count on yourself. You have to protect your property and protect your things, because you can't count on, remember, this is still considered a property crime, right? So there is a lot of repeat offenders in this nature, because they are released almost as fast as they're caught, right? We will catch them. They will go into the system. We had an incident last week where they were back on the street in an hour and a half. And that's not unusual.
That's unfortunate.
Yes.
And just really quick, I'm going to just share one page of the report. The report's like 7 pages, but this is, I was going to share this for the public. This is, I made it really big. This is just a map that was provided in the report. And let me scroll down a little bit because I show you the weight of, so the weight darker is highest, obviously, and the light is lowest. So this is us. We are almost as dark as you're going to be as a county. So it should be noted that we are in one of the darkest or heaviest areas, I should say, of activity in terms of vehicle theft. So this is definitely across our entire county, not just isolated to Maplewood. So, all right. Moving on in our agenda, like to have a update regarding our crossing guard resources, Chief, and I have you and of course Sergeant Reeves and Officer Lewin here as well. Just love to, you know, it's a topic, as Ms. Davenport alluded to. We discussed it at the Community Board of Police meeting. There's some hot spots in our community, one being over by Tuscan and Burnett and Springfield, which is aligned with Seth Boyden and his other areas as well, which Ms. Kripe is also near to her heart and mine. Talk about CHS, but wanted to just kind of get a report on the initiative to basically find more crossing guards or whatever solutions we're looking at to address the issue. Okay,
so the locations that you discussed, Spring and Burnett and Tuscan at Burnett, I'll talk about that first. So what we did was we now have a police officer assigned to Springfield Avenue and Burnett Avenue. Of the two, that is the most dangerous corner. As everybody is aware, we had two guards actually. We had a guard actually struck there twice. So that's one that I feel that we just had to take responsibility over. And what we have done at Tuscan, and I'll give you an overall process we're doing overall. We have retrained the guard at that location and made sure that they had the equipment that they needed. I have assigned a training officer to visit these guards, so that way traffic safety is important for them as well. And a lot of these safety issues come because the guards tend to get close relationships with the students that they cross, but that comes also at their peril. So the training is important. The relationships are important, and the continued monitoring is important. So yes, increased training. We'll be meeting with all of our guards shortly to bring them up to speed on expectations and training as well. And what we're also utilizing now is we're putting some traffic cones and we're staging them in areas so that the guards can easily put them out. So that way, one of the incidents that was happening was actually the vehicles were parked so close to the intersections that it impeded sight line. It's unfortunate that we had to figure it out this way, but it's more important that we figured it out so that we know how to address it. So we're blocking off areas so that way the guard has a better view of the intersection, and that gives them more time to react. But we're also teaching the guards that they should not be assuming vehicles are going to stop, and that they're crossing without making sure that the traffic is stopped. So we're focusing on that as well. We see very frequently that students will make an assumption because the guard is there that it's safe to cross, and it is just not. So at this point, our best goal until we get improved staffing is to make sure that our guards are doing their job to the best of their ability. As far as the staffing goes, we've received a couple applications, and we are putting them through the process. Obviously, they have to be medically cleared, and they have to be trained to make sure that they're capable of it. And then we'll have to discuss other ways. Obviously, personnel wouldn't be discussed in this forum, but we'll have to discuss other ways to incentivize new applicants, either that or to privatize, which some of the local municipalities have. Millburn has privatized, and South Orange is in the process of privatizing. I would like to see us try to keep our guards local. We've tried private companies before, and they don't work. They don't work because the guards never get familiar with the locations, never get familiar with the students or the parents that they're crossing, and when you don't have that bond, I feel that you're losing something. So before we do that, I'd like to have a discussion other ways to incentivize getting our own guards in.
You know, Chief, really quick, and then I'm going to yield the floor to Ms. Kripe. It's an interesting concept about private versus our current staffing. And again, we're not talking about individuals having a conversation.
Right.
Have we thought about a hybrid model where we already have a fixed amount of crossing guards? Several of them are beloved by their respected, patrons on the corner or schools, but you're right, there is this void, this gap of X amount of individuals that we, as a backfill / enhancement to our staffing, are we open to that hybrid approach?
I would ask the BA to answer that, but my answer to that would be is some people may be unaware. Our guards are unionized. I think if you brought people in there, the union would have a fit.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to. I'll yield to Mr. Jimes about that. And
yeah,
I mean,
as you know, even I forget the term for the even the at-will employee will fall into their job title. So if guards come in at will, they'll still be covered by the union.
Okay.
I think that would bring up a lot of challenges that we could probably talk about outside of this.
Fair enough. There's always something. That nothing is ever too straightforward, is it?
I wish it was.
Just trying to address a problem with efficiencies and ways that makes sense and can help us move forward. But I understand the points, so we should revisit that later on down the line. And I don't know if we should do that as a discussion item at a future TC meeting, or we should have a deeper discussion here once the whole committees. Maybe we would start here. Maybe next month we can talk more about it, and I'll give Mr. Jimes and Ms. Brennan some time to think about it. And then you've already outlined some of the challenges, so we'll need to weigh that. We'll scope it out and figure out. I'm not swaying or saying my opinion one way or another. I'm just trying to find a solution, as you are too. We're collectively trying to find, by all means necessary, a solution to address the situation, and knowing how the situation impacts the overall operational strategy, which we discussed before. So
I think, Mr. McGee, I think privatizing sounds great, right? Because then you don't have to worry about that staffing. You're putting that worry on somebody else. And I think like we're saying, you have to balance expectations and costs associated. And quite honestly, they have union contracts just like everything else. and honestly, our own guards may become too expensive for us. And then you're looking into somebody else to manage it.
Fair. No, it's fair. It's definitely a lot to unpack, you know. And you know, if the goal, you know, if the scoping of this idea doesn't align with the goal because there's too many hurdles, there's too many operational challenges, it's not sustainable, then we should definitely not move forward with it. We just need to just vet it out and, you know, and see if there's any other, you know, and there's probably another alternative that we haven't thought about yet either.
Yep.
But obviously we're still, you know, looking for people, you know, to help us, you know, to hire and to bring on the team and help fill these gaps, you know, while we have, you know, currently officers and others addressing the issue. I do think it's good that the strategies that you outlined as solutions this evening, I think are well noted and smart about car placement, cone placement, incremental training, awareness. Those can help mitigate any risk of, you know, of situations with our residents as well as with our crossing guards or officers too. So I think that's is not just putting someone there, but explaining the situation and creating measures to enhance the safety. I think that's a win. So let me yield the floor to Ms. Cry for any questions or comments or concerns that she may have.
I'm just wondering ways to try to get people to realize that they, even though they're on Springfield at Burnett, that they're in a school zone. I know they've had painting done on the street on Burnett leading up to that traffic light, but every time I go to the Walgreens, I see people in the box. and I'm in my head, I'm screaming, get out of the box.
Yeah, me
Is
as
there
well.
a way of lights and this is an expense thing that probably would have to go through Public Works, but I'm
Engineering,
wondering
I
if
would
there's just more
suggest.
signage we can put out there to let people know you're in a school zone. And yeah, slow down.
It is my belief that that discussion is happening, if not already, that it's in progress, because it has been said on this meetings before that engineering needs to get involved in there. Where they did mention that the intersection has been restriped, and it has, but people, they want to get
Ignore
through
it.
that light. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
they're
want to get
desperate.
through.
And that would be the other thing, the timing on the light. Is there any way at certain periods of time they can like assess whether they can extend it a little bit longer? It would probably tone down some of the aggression.
Yeah, we are certainly working with the people who control the timing on Springfield Avenue, but it is very difficult in the sense that they're all tied together. So if you move one, you have to move all of them. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the timing on the lights is really a new thing. Over the past year or two, they've replaced the timing and the equipment necessary for the timing, and I'm just not quite sure that they ever got it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's a good point. I mean, also too, like, I know I think they discussed this issue this morning at engineering, public works, and planning public works. I couldn't go at a work meeting, but you know, do we simply look at stop signs? You know, I can share my screen again or just share the, you know, is there, you know, and that's an engineering question. You know, I know this is like not, this photo is kind of outdated because there was some striping and work that we did in the intersection, but, you know, but is there an opportunity to, I don't know, somehow create some type of two-way stop? I don't know. I mean, again, I yield to engineering to the experts, but like, are there other things we can do? You know, I know there's discussion of a stoplight, but it's not counting, so we would incur the cost, some six-figure cost. But is there, you know, opportunity to do like some type of two-way stop, right? So if you're pulling up on Burnett and pulling up on Tuscan, you know, one car has the right of way. I mean, probably going to cause more traffic buildup, I imagine, on both those streets, but could be a way to suppress some of the flow into that, you know, in terms of people turning aggressively. But again, I think there are a lot of ideas that a lot of people have, but we have to keep just kind of fleshing through this and having this exercise to figure out the solution.
Mr. McGehee, if you could keep that up on the screen a minute.
Mhm.
One of the things that were happening, and people like to offer suggestions. but I'm not sure. So let's talk about Burnett Avenue right by the corner of Tuscan. I'm not sure if there's a space there to put a stop sign. We're gonna have to talk to engineer about that. But way too far. Okay, so
I'll go back. Sorry. Wait a minute. Sorry.
Okay, so as to what Ms. Kripe was talking about, I think the striping that is in the roadway, in the intersection nearest the light, the striping is there, right? But people come upon that striping, right? They didn't have advanced striping. So as much as people like hate striping, I would put it on the other side of the store of the I don't know. Can I see your mouse cursor? Maybe I could find it. Yeah, down, not on Tuscan, but on Burnett.
Yep, that up here.
Yes, exactly there. Because what's happening is people get there. There's really no place for a stop sign. But if you can put warning devices that Ms. Kripe was talking about there, slow, stop. If you can put lines in the street there, I think will help, because at the time that these vehicles enter the intersection, they're already there. And more often than not, they can't go anywhere. So that's like the experience. So my recommendation is to highlight that area before, so that way people start waking up to something that's coming ahead. And then the other thing that I can tell you we have done is the crossing guard does not belong by the corner of that building, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I find them there all the time, and we're trying to break them of that habit, because nobody can see them, right? So we are positioning them on the other side. There's a tree there that right now is not too bad. So I don't know if you see it, there's a cluster. Yeah, the one closest to the street.
Yeah, I can.
I have looked at that, and I perceive it as a view obstruction. Okay, especially when that gets bigger. When that gets bigger, it's going to be a problem. It's too. You can see it right there. It covers part of the intersection.
Yeah,
and put leaves on it, that's an issue. You know, we love trees, but we love safety more, right? So us keeping the guard where they can be seen and giving them the proper training is going to be very helpful there. But but in that view, you could see that a car coming on Burnett Avenue, if the crossing guard is on either side of the street, they're not going to see them well, which is why we want them on the Walgreens side.
Yeah, I was about to ask, what are they focused on as far as the crossing area? Because if I'm doing like simple like directions, how to get there quickly, it would be to stay on Springfield Avenue side until you get in front of the police department driveway and cross at that section, because that's the Seth Boyden side of the road.
Right.
It's not the other side. You actually have to go further and then cross a second time.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely.
So is there any way of
right.
having maybe them station themselves there
Yes.
and make that to be the place where the kids cross? And yeah, you have to walk another 60 feet, but you know what? You have to walk that 60 feet anyway, plus some, because you're going down across from the Walgreens and then down the road across the other way.
So what you want that to be is learned behavior, obviously.
Right.
Right. And I'm glad that we have the officer there, because we can. The officer is more likely to say, "Hey, come down here." The crossing guard more than likely is just going to say, "You're there. I'm going to go to you and cross you there," right? So that is something that could be effective, very much as well.
Yeah, someone was saying that they may have to cross twice on Boyden. No, you wouldn't. If you actually cross on the other side of the traffic cone, you cross Springfield Avenue and you walk down Tuscan. And when you get to Burnett, Boyden Avenue, you only have to cross Boyden. That's it. You cross twice instead of 4 times the other way. You're coming down the block this way, you cross right there. Now, granted, the crosswalk is on the other side of the street, but not for long. I'm just going to say that. According to the conversation we had in Public Works, because some of the things they've been discussing is trying to help traffic flow in Seth Boyden, that far traffic crosswalk is not working for us anymore.
Ms. Kripe, I also have to ask for this. just like Maplewood Village, parking is at a premium,
Mhm.
right? If you look at these two parking spaces, kind of where his mouse is now, we
Yeah.
need to get rid of. We need
Oh,
to
right
get
here.
rid of them.
Yeah, yeah.
We need to get rid of them because just like this, I'm going to call it the speeding effect, right? The speeding effect is the road is 25 and you're praying that the people do 35, right?
Right.
So what happens here is the people are half in and half out, right? So that parking space needs to be either eliminated or moved back 10 feet.
I think
Right.
that's also on the discussion list.
Yeah, I mean, these are things that are just common sense when you recognize you have a lot of people in the area at the same time. Or, you know, maybe we'll do temporary things such as taking the spots and kind of like reserving them, if you will, so that way we can see what effect it has just
Yeah,
by
and
making it unavailable.
And again, I love the idea also of the cones. Sometimes that's
Yeah.
all it takes. I look at the crosswalk, the crossing guard over at Tuscan, the one that's on
Yes.
the corner of Prospect. She works 2 of the 4 crosswalks. That's it. There's 4 there, but she works 2 of them and she controls that whole corner. I think everybody probably at one time in their life walked across the street with her assistant. So we all love and respect her, but she runs that corner. But she uses only 2 of those crosswalks.
There's no easy solutions.
No.
And we have to try a lot of them. But like I said, we covered some very basic things here that are definitely helpful.
Agreed. I think I'm glad to hear there was a wholesome conversation this morning, and Ms. Cripe nailed it. I remember the work that you did, Chief, at Tuscan, and we could almost pretend like this is Prospect and this is Harvard and Tuscan is up here. I remember loved ones were parking their cars on temporarily on Prospect and then walking around a corner to Tuscan to pick up their loved ones. So I remember that you implemented cones and eventually we got some striping here and prevented parking at that intersection, which helped with the flow of young people crossing Prospect and eventually heading into College Hill and then onto Hilton. But I also remember too, we eventually put a 4-way stop there too. This has been very helpful.
Yeah, but I mean, when you put in the 4-way stops, even at Burnett and Rutgers, the presence of those cones there, even if they got waffled once in a while, the presence of the cones were a very good investment.
Yeah, no, agreed. So I think really, I mean, the good news is that there's definitely eyes on this issue across multiple department heads and elected officials and administration. So we know that we have a baseline, and the baseline is not good enough, and we're gonna do some things about it. We're gonna try things. We're implementing things already, and we'll continue to do so until we solve this issue and we move on to the next issue. So 100%.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about me, and you certainly know that, is I'm willing to try and fail, right? I don't think that anything we're talking about is going to happen probably for several months. So we have to do some temporary things just to see what works and what doesn't. I mean, we tried some measures around Columbia High School, and just like anything else, some things worked and some things made things worse.
Yeah, no, I recall. It's all good, Chief. The most important thing is trial and error, and that's
Right.
what we did. We did some trial and error. We did some also, I think, at Clinton too, but all good.
Yes.
All good. I was on one of my screens, I was trying to pull up an example of what you were referring to when you were talking about up here with the road. I hope I'm not making people dizzy tonight with my attempt to navigate here. But anyway, I found this. This is over on Valley and Milburn Avenue. This is an example, and I'll make a little. So it's over by the Milburn Audi, but like in the road, some of that before the intersection. This may not be the exact example, but this was to help with here with Villa Terrace and making sure people didn't like clog up the way. But that's an example that I know of where we have some type of additional striping before the actual intersection itself. And I was just trying to align that with your example here, which was before the back alley, before the intersection. That's
Yeah,
all.
I mean, I'm not the traffic engineer, but I'm smart enough to know what's happening. And anybody who stands there and looks at it realizes it's race to the corner, and now you're there, and they make a very hard decision. So that's how I feel about it.
100%. All right. Well, I think we've definitely discussed this topic ad nauseum. Bailey's taking scrupulous notes. Thank you, Bailey. And Ms. Crabb, do you have anything else for Chief? We're going to yield the floor to Mr. Reeves and to Sergeant Reeves and to Officer Lewin now for any update they may have. So, okay, cool. I will yield the floor to those gentlemen for for discussion.
Okay, so I asked Sergeant Reeves to come on the line to talk about a couple of things that we're doing traffic wise, and as we know. As we know, Officer Lewin is becoming, he's a new addition to our Community Service Bureau, and he's doing some outstanding work. And I know that he wants to talk about a couple of the PSAs that he's doing. But I wanted to indicate that we had a meeting last week where gun safety and as it relates to guns in the home and domestic violence, I asked Officer Lewin to work on a public service announcement for that as well, to include that we do have gun locks that are available for free that we'll keep at headquarters. But Officer Lewin will talk to you about that. So, Sarge, if you want to take it away.
Sure, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Sergeant Reeves here. I'm going to keep my quick updates pretty quick, and then I'll turn the floor over to Officer Lewin. First, some traffic updates. Just some upcoming events that are going to be happening. As you know or may not know, April is Distracted Driving Month. I've applied for 2 grants from New Jersey Highway Traffic Safety. Hopefully we'll be getting that grant information back soon. That'll help us with specific details. It'll be distracted driving grants, things for looking for people on cell phones, eating while they're driving, talking to friends, loud music, things of that nature. Just a lot of quality of life issues that those grants are going to help us out with. In regards to some school issues with the schools, not really issues, but things I had planned for the schools. I've been working with AAA. I said this at the last meeting that we're going to try to get distracted driving seminars prior to prom coming up, and we are really working hard on that. AAA is busy too because they have a lot of things going on as well in different schools. So I'm trying to get them in prior to prom month, so that way our youth can understand the dangers of distracted driving and hopefully not drinking and driving and things of that nature. Also in the elementary schools, we're going to go back to something that we did a couple of years ago. We had a program for our elementary, for our younger students called Auto the Auto, which AAA will come in. They have a little robotic car and they help teach the children dangers of when they're walking in the street, if they are by themselves and not with a parent, things of that nature. So how to cross safely, how to not cross in between cars, just to keep themselves a little bit safer while they're on the street, because it'll be summertime before we know it, and there won't be crossing guards usually at most of these corners. So we need to start helping children now try to understand what they're going to be doing. Let's see here. I've gotten a couple of emails regarding some complaint streets, regarding speeding, different quality of life issues with that. I've been working with the engineering department and Paul Kittner and Hussam, trying to work out different ways to curb it. Our mile per hour signs, our mobile MPH unit signs are going to be back up in effect pretty soon. I plan to actually roll a couple of them out this week. And for those of you that don't know, those signs will be posted in different locations throughout the town for a period of 7 to 10 days, just to remind people to slow down in different areas. So if anyone has any issues on some streets that they would like us to put those on, please send me an email or give me a call. I'll put my information in the chat once we're done with that.
We have 4 of them, right, Sarge?
Yes, sir. 2 trailers and 2 of the ones that go on the poles. So we'll, like I said, we move those around in different places because eventually they're like billboards. After a while, you stop paying attention to it. So we move them in different locations, tends to slow people down. It's just another tool that we have in our belt to help curb some speeding within the township. And our pedestrian safety crosswalk details are going to be starting up soon because I applied for another grant from Highway Traffic Safety. And those grants are for, I'm sure people have seen them in other districts and other townships. We've done them here before. We will have an officer in the crosswalk and, we'll be stopping cars down a little bit down the road, give people a chance to make a decision whether they're going to stop for the person in the crosswalk, things of that nature. So that'll be happening up again soon. And that is it for that. And Officer Loon is going to give some updates regarding the Rings Neighbors Public Safety Service, as well as our Rapid SOS program. Byron, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to make it brief tonight. We have just partnered with Ring, so we are all up and running on Ring Doorbell, which also puts another tool in our belt to help our community be connected with the police department. The Ring connection is great. Most of our township has Ring, but with that Ring system, you don't have to actually have like a Ring doorbell. With the Neighbors app, you can actually have different cameras if we ever need help investigating anything, or if we want to get a message out there to a push notification to our community. If you have the Neighbors app by Ring, you'll also be notified. The other thing I wanted to really talk about tonight was our Rapid SOS system. So Rapid SOS built a platform to get critical information to the police department. This system, pretty much in layman's terms, will give us critical medical information that a police officer won't have responding to your house. In the past, what we've had to do was receive a phone call, then kind of figure out what's going on in the situation, maybe go into our database to find out if this person has any medical injuries or if they were non-mobile or any of that situation. But now with this system, at any time that someone calls or their devices detect that they have fallen in their residence, this device will now call 911 and give us all that critical medical information that we need at our fingertips to help get our communities the help that they need as fast as they can get it. Certain devices.
Byron, 1 second. The one thing that I should have prefaced is as part of our capital improvement budget request for 2021 was to upgrade our 911 system. So we have our new 911 system up and running, and what he's referring to is the Rapid SOS mapping system that is part of our new 911 system. It's outstanding. It's going to offer a lot of benefits to our residents. And in this case, it gives the opportunity for our residents to voluntarily provide any type of information that they want to us for us to know.
Correct. And all this information is secure. It doesn't get relinquished to anyone else. It's a secure network that is directly connected to the police department. So if you have an Apple Watch, for instance, some of the newer generation Apple Watches, if you fall, for instance, and you're part of our more elderly community, this watch will now send out a signal to the police department saying that this person has fallen inside their residence, which will now have police officers able to get to that residence, probably breach the door if that person is unable to get up, and be able to save a life. So this system is incredible. The telecommunication side of it is incredible. And we're gonna also be pushing this out to our Winchester Gardens. We have their actual town hall meeting on April 19th. Myself, Sergeant Reeves, and Officer Jones are gonna be there to help them sign up for this, because it is a great tool. And we think that it's gonna definitely help us save a lot of lives. So thank you very much for listening to me tonight.
And just to add to that, once the state allows texting, we will be prepared for that. So right now, text to 911 is only through the state police. But at some point, it'll go to the municipalities, and with this new system, we're all ready for that.
That's pretty cool. Ms. Kripe, any questions for Officer Lewin or Sergeant Reeves?
I don't know if it would be an offline question in regards, because you said people have to opt in to share their information. Say you have an incident previously with someone and it comes to light in your investigation that the person has, say, mental health issues. If that person doesn't voluntarily give you that information, but you have it, would that be something that would be added into the system so you have it on hand?
Well, we can flag anything that we want. So what we typically do is to coincide with certain things, typically domestic violence offenses, we flag, but yeah, we have the opportunity to do that. This is in addition to that. This is somebody, if somebody wants to know that they have an autistic child and not have to worry about it when it's critical, they could enter that information. And by the way, we certainly could do that in our CAD system right now. If you went away for a week and said, one of the things that we do very frequently is residence checks. Somebody can call us and say, listen, can you keep an eye on our house? We're going to go away. And we will enter a flag into their system, and our officers will be able to know that it's a vacant house. So between the system and the opportunities through Rapid SOS, there's a lot of opportunities to provide information that you feel comfortable with. But the Rapid SOS stuff, we don't find out about that unless there's an emergency, right? So that's information that you put in there that we do not have access to unless you call 911, and then when you call 911, then the information that you put in will come up from us. So we're not storing it.
Correct. These are things that you can do on your smartphone as well. So you have these options on your iPhone per se. We're going to do a PSA about that as far as the quadruple click of the power button or holding the power button to let us know that there's an emergency. But it's a great tool. I think that, dialing 911 and having that kind of information in there only gives us the tools that we need to help our community and do it correctly and do it how we've been doing it in a safe and courteous way.
Yeah,
so.
And you're also going to see a push, and I'll just tease it right now. There's also going to be a push that we're working on, and I believe it came over from Town Hall, and it talks about keeping an emergency file somewhere in your house, somewhere nearby, where we won't have to. I forget what it's called. But I know we're going to be putting a push on that as well on our websites, because it's important that you have important documents nearby, especially medical documents.
We call it the go bag. I have one right there. I'm looking right at it.
I can picture it in my head. It's like a red folder. I'm drawing a blank on the name.
Yeah. One other quick question. I was writing notes at the time. What is the date of the Winchester Garden orientation?
It's going to be April 19th for their town hall meeting.
April 19th.
Okay. Right. And we're working with Michelle from Town Hall as well to do some lunch and learns with our seniors to push this system that's going to help save lives.
Good.
So we're just working out those dates, and we'll get back to you, either myself or Chief or Sergeant Reeves.
Perfect. Because I'm also Seniors Advisory Committee. So
awesome. You'll hear about it soon then. It's no secret. I want everyone to know about this.
Send it to you directly.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Kripe. And Officer Lewin and Sergeant Reeves, a great report. I had one question for you, Sergeant Reeves. In that list of streets, is Upper Oakland Road on your list?
100%.
All right. Thank you for following through. I appreciate
all
that.
over it.
That's going to be a larger discussion that's going to involve engineering as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I've already spoken to engineering about it. So we're going to set up a discussion, go out into the field and actually see what we have, basically. So, and how we can help adjust some things.
Excellent. It's music to my ears. I really appreciate the follow-up. All right. Again, thank you, gentlemen, for your report. Very informative and appreciated. That leads us now to the last part of our agenda, and that is public comment on police matters only. So I'll yield the floor to Ms. Barnett. I think we had one hand up, so we should probably move the individual over to panelists and we'll go from there.
Yes, first up we have Kasha. You'll be converted to a panelist and allowed 3 minutes to speak. And I believe she's moving over now.
Awesome, thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone. Sorry to bombard the chat with all my comments. I wasn't sure. And I'm also in my apron because I'm doing dishes while I listen. So anyway, sorry about that. Jermaine, I was so happy to hear that you might be changing where that crosswalk is, because as soon as you were writing, like, I was like, no, that doesn't. I I do this walk almost once a day. So I am very familiar with what all of the issues are. But I think that if you changed where that crosswalk was, that would change people's habits to cross on the other side in front of the police station. Because the only reason why I do it the other way is because I have to cross at Boyden at the crosswalk on the other side. That's the only reason I go that way. I intuitively, the first time I ever walked to South Boyden, I crossed on the other side, and then I got to Boyden and was like, oh crap, now I got to go like the long way around, right? So anyway, I was hoping to ask, since I have the public safety person and the public works representative both on this call, I do think, given the amount of conversation about this and the enthusiasm for the folks that are crossing these crosswalks all of the time, you know, I know some folks are joining the engineering calls, other folks are joining the public safety calls. You know, Frank's not on the call this morning. You are on this call today, but the engineering people aren't here. And I know that you all are having meetings outside of this to discuss what's going on, but I do think the public would benefit from like a single session where each person can come on and be like, because I also have like 17 ideas. Some of them were mentioned tonight, some of them were not. And I know all of the people that are invested in this, you know, if we could just like have one session to kind of air all the ideas and give each, you know, because it is a combined engineering policing issue, right? Because it is about the people, but it's also about the engineering. So if you have the police and the engineering folks on the call, when it's a manpower problem, the chief can answer. When it's an engineering problem, the engineering people can answer, and we can just have a single dialogue. And I think the community would be really happy to participate in that, including me.
Well, I think what we don't get much of is what you talked about, Kasha, is what your idea is, right? Because then we have to look at them and try to vet through them, you know. So I think that's the most important thing that could come out of that.
And I think that we should, you know, invite the crossing guards to that meeting too, and or at least, you know, do a pretty thorough interview with them. I mean, Chief, you know, you said that you're sort of retraining them, but, you know, Barbara isn't there anymore. And I'm sure she's got ideas, having crossed that cross lots and lots of times. And, you know, she's a thoughtful person. Same with the person who crosses on Boyden. I mean, that person is putting their life on the line every morning. It is a frightening cross. And I mean, I just asked her casually, I was like, what if we had stop signs right here? And she was like, oh my God, I'd love to have stop signs right here. So, and she like barely talks. So the fact that she responded to me was like, I felt like that was a big win. So anyway, so that was going to be my big ask. And then that's it. I know I signed on late. I assume Piper had a chance to provide a couple of thoughts. Yes.
Piper was outstanding.
Great. All right. Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome, Kasha. I think, you know, your point is well taken, and we'll have to find the right medium for it. You know, is it become a discussion item at the TC meeting when we're all there? It may be a little too quick for Tuesday, but it may not. I mean, we can put discussion items in. You know, I just had to figure out if that makes sense, and we might do that. And that way, you have enough time to let people know who showed up this morning, and then obviously you and others can come who were here tonight, and we can have that joint conversation as a discussion item. Everyone can speak at the front of the meeting and then leave after the discussion. I'll stay for the whole meeting too. So that's a possibility. If it doesn't work out for Tuesday, then I'll work with Dean to find something that works. You know, maybe we decide to use this meeting a month from now and we have it publicly noticed so people can come anyway. You know, it doesn't have to necessarily be Ms.
Yeah,
Kreitman.
and maybe you just bring engineering. You ask,
Yeah,
you
for
invite
this
engineering
meeting,
to the
we have it.
meeting, let everybody know. And, you know, I do think making it more of a discussion. I think the fear about the TC meeting is that I think, you know, members of the public are in this, like, I have my 3 minutes and then I don't get a chance to have like an actual back and forth and to get like a response to my thing. And that maybe you respond and I have another idea. Like, I think a little bit more of a discussion.
Sure.
It's just a thought.
Yeah.
Not to be a Debbie Downer, if you will. I think a lot of these suggestions should come in advance to give us the opportunity to think of them, right?
Correct.
I mean, I'm not gonna. It would be unfair to anybody on the call to say, well, I think you should put a stop sign there and expect somebody to vet that. I don't, unless this is going to be a listening, you know, where
I mean,
we're
I'm not expecting every single one to be vetted, but I think that
no, the ideas are all going to be good and we go through them. I just don't think
right.
one way or another, we're going to get a list of these ideas and see how they work or they don't. Right.
I mean,
and I don't expect there to be any decisions made that night.
No, and I don't think anybody would expect any decisions to be made because, as you said, like, because there are lots of things that cost money. Like, I've got ideas that I know cost money,
Sure.
so obviously the decision can't be made in the meeting. But I think, and I do think that you could like send out a little survey and be like, if you're interested in this, like, send us all of your ideas. That you do have like a master list of ideas.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. But I mean, we have to get
right. I think you're both agreeing. I think it makes sense to have the meeting. I think what Chief is saying, I think it's a fair point, is that we should provide opportunity to the public to provide their thoughts beforehand, so we can vet through them and provide answers versus hearing them in that moment where it's you like you always want to get the notes before. I usually read before a TC meeting, so I want to read before the meeting. So, I'd want ideas, whatever they are, to be, and to your point though, Kasha, we have to provide some type of platform so those could be disseminated, or communicate to us and then disseminate to the people. So we'll take that as an action item, and maybe it's a month from this meeting, we do it at that meeting and everyone can come and, it's more of a discussion versus the 3-minute limit, like you said, and we'll have Mr. Kittner here and other colleagues who want to join, and we just have this kind of, and there are other committee meetings where we all, if it's publicly noticed, anyone can show up. We have a meeting tomorrow morning where everyone will likely show up. So, so I like the idea. So why don't we take that as an action item? And that gives us some time too to also keep flushing out all these ideas that we talked about tonight, because what I like about it is that people are listening and people are trying to do something versus just, lip service. People are doing stuff, and that's what you want, right? So.
Last thing I want to say on this, you sparked something for me, which is, I also just want to say I appreciate how seriously you're taking this issue at these intersections. Kids have been crossing there for years and years and years and years, many, many years.
I did. So I know I did.
Yeah. So, and I know there have been different, as you said, like different things have been tried, but appreciate you sort of, we've spent a lot of airtime on this, and that is obviously an indication that folks are taking it pretty seriously. So as someone who's hoping to send my 3rd grader next year to go walk by herself and to do these crossings by herself, I'm hopeful we'll find some solutions, because right now it's too scary. I wouldn't let her. But she really wants to, and she's a responsible kid. So let's cross our fingers we get some stuff nailed for her.
I like that. No, thank you. Appreciate that. So we have an action item. So we will work, Ms. Kreitman will work on that to set up set up something to disseminate to people so that they know they can provide some input, and then the meeting that we'll discuss it, be it this meeting, be it engineering, be it even TC, we'll figure it out as a committee, but duly noted, appreciate it. So awesome. Ms. Barnett, do we have anyone else who'd like to address the township? Oh, address the Public Safety Committee at this time? Oops.
I'm seeing no hands.
Thank you. Seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to our final part of the agenda, which is to adjourn. May I get a motion to adjourn? There's only one person I'm looking at for that motion, Ms. Crichton. All right. I will second that motion, and all in favor, aye. So
Aye.
thank you everyone for your time this evening, and we will reconvene. I guess it's April. What is it? April 11th of next month. We're off of the marches, so now we're on the 11th. So we'll reconvene then. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Have a good evening, and see some of you guys, some of you all in about 11 hours.
Mayor, Mr.
There's
McGee,
somebody in the chat box that were saying they tried to raise their hand.
Mr. John Sullivan was trying to raise his hand, and he just called us.
Let's do that. Mr. Sullivan, my apologies. Good catch, Mr. Giles. Thank you. Mr. Sullivan, good evening.
Yes, thank you so much. Frank, I also was late to hop on to this meeting, so I missed Piper's presentation. I just wanted to know, was she as much of a rock star as her mother was at the TC meeting?
You know, I don't like to be put in uncomfortable positions here, Mr. Sullivan. So let's just say that Miss Davenport was amazing.
Fantastic. Good to hear. Good to hear. Just a couple of quick things. First of all, the PSAs, love them. The last one on paying attention when you're walking around, that hit the point. The other point I want to raise is I was glad that the 911 system has been put in. I remember the chief was adamant at the budget hearings last year that it was necessary to install that. So I'm glad that that's finally been done, and all the added devices to it, which will help the public. So thank you for that. And I also left messages for some of the public officials on this meeting. I've been complaining in the past about the 911 scanner system not being up and running. I was happy to hear that it was up and running as of yesterday, and I've spent some time listening to it. So I'm glad that is finally taken care of. So thank you.
The link is on our website, and I assume it'll go on the township website as well.
John, Billy and I do receive your voicemails independently, so thank you for your acknowledgements on that. It's much appreciated.
And Chief, I sent it, I think, to just the police chief at township. So I don't know if you got it. I reached out to you also.
Okay.
So thank you.
It's been, I can tell you this, it's been a very, very busy, it's been too busy.
Right.
Yeah, and we got tired of waiting for the supply chain and the computer issue. So I just dragged Chief Alvarez to Best Buy the other morning and said, I'm buying a computer, so let's go. Not the most ideal thing from the local public contracts law standpoint, but I think we'll be okay.
I like when action's done. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Thank you for your remarks and your advocacy as well. It's appreciated.
And for the lavish beard, I am loving the red. Happy St. Patty's, bro.
It's the High Holy Month.
I know.
Byron's got a tough beard too.
But John doesn't grow one, and now that he's got the Irish flag hanging out in front of his house, getting ready for St. Patrick's
I'm
Day.
representing.
Represent.
I like that. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Mr. Sullivan. Appreciate it. And thank everyone also for your efforts on the scanner and in general as well. So with that, we will adjourn for the evening. Thank you everyone for your time, and we'll speak soon. So be well.
Thank you.
Have a good night,
Night,
everyone.
everyone.
Have a good evening.